Can't think of a better way of celebrating freedom than to get together to talk about our founding fathers.
Holy shit, why are we still talking about those old dead white guys? You think if George Washington were alive today, he'd have any clue what the fuck to do?
And to talk about the Bill of Rights to kick off this discussion, I want to tell you a little bit about the fact that the left, of course, does hate the Bill of Rights.
Let me guess, you'll go on to mischaracterize the left, and instead of bringing up any examples of leftists saying leftist things, you're just going to vaguely gesture at imagined hypocrisy.
Why? Well, because the Bill of Rights talks about things that the government can't do.
Ah, the classic leftism is when the government does stuff line.
And that to them is like blasphemy. That's the absolute worst because they want to use government. Let's talk a little bit about why the Bill of Rights was written. Now, I don't have to tell you that we're, of course, facing a lot of problems as a country. We've got more problems than a math book right now, and most of those problems, a disproportionate share of them, come from government, and they're in need of solutions.
Nope, most of our problems come from capitalism.
We have division, we've got rancor, we've got a clamor of loud voices crying out in opposite directions all across the country. Those are the doomsayers who are predicting more gloom. Those are the skeptics, doubting whether we can ever build a better future together.
Oh yes, because the progressives don't think progress is possible.
Those of the idealists, claiming that we need to use government to build some kind of leftist utopia.
Who is saying this? I've never heard any leftist simply say, oh yeah, I like more government. This is literally just a straw man.
And those who are calling out for unity.
Fuck unity. You can die in a ditch for all I care.
And if there's one thing that all of them, and in fact all of us, can unite around, it should be this: skepticism. Skepticism in government and faith in the people.
The people, my ass. 74 million people voted for Donald Trump. People are fucking idiots.
You see, those two things work against each other. Skepticism in government and faith in the people.
Wait, don't they work with each other?
If the skeptics need more skepticism, be skeptical of government.
But why?
If the doubters need more doubt, be skeptical of government.
But why?
If the hopeful need more hope.
Blah, blah, government bad, people good, whatever.
Government's not some holy thing. It's not some noble aspiration. It's nothing more and nothing less than the official collective use of force. It's just coercive force.
Wait, no, the state is the monopolization of power. Government itself can be completely voluntary. For example, just because a chess club that I join has governing principles doesn't mean I didn't voluntarily enter it.
And so faith in government means tyranny.
Holy fuck, this is so banal.
And faith in people means freedom.
He's just made baseless assertions. Look at these idiots clapping their flippers like sea lions as if Mike Lee said anything actually profound here.
That, you see, is the absolute key to our founding and to our Bill of Rights. And it also happens to be precisely what the left is trying to undo.
Yeah, by supporting things like the Equal Rights Amendment and the right to health care, we're totally destroying the Bill of Rights.
I also don't need to tell you that our fundamental freedoms are coming under attack more and more each and every day. In fact, in many ways, their sole agenda is putting more faith in government.
Who the fuck is they? Congress has like a 20% approval rating.
And as a result, they take steps, inevitably, to make us less free. So how do they do this? Well, they do it by eroding the very same protections in the Bill of Rights that make us free. Now, there are, of course, two main ways in which the Constitution protects our freedom. First, you've got the structural protections, the checks and balances, the manner in which power is split up. It's split up between state and local power on the one hand and between the three branches of the federal government on the other hand. Those are very, very important.
See, this is the kind of sophistry Republicans always get at. First, they worship the fact that our government is notoriously inefficient. Then they complain that our government is inefficient. The fact is, conservatives always aim to conserve. That's why it's in their interest to make it harder to pass laws and easier to obstruct our progress into the future.
But there's another set of protections that are substantive in nature, that amount basically to the thou shalt nots of the Constitution.
Useless history lesson.
Something that Richard Henry Lee, who was a founding father, described as those essential rights of mankind without which liberty cannot exist. Richard Henry Lee was worried that the original Constitution didn't have specific protections for those freedoms. Things that the government simply cannot do with the express purpose of safeguarding liberty. You see, the Founding Fathers knew from sad, difficult, tragic experience under British tyranny that bad things happen when we allow too much power to accumulate in the hands of the few.
Unfortunately, we've forgotten about that lesson, which is why we have capitalism today.
And in the hands of people who are not skeptical of government and in fact put their trust in it. You see, this is part of how British tyranny became so bad in the first place.
Wait, no, it was that combined with imperialism and mercantilism and a lot of other factors. This guy is like so IQ he can't understand anything besides people good, government bad.
People put an almost religious amount of zeal and support and, yes, faith in the crown and therefore in government. That's not where it belongs. We know better as conservatives.
Notice how he never actually substantiates which policies he supports which actually decrease the size of government.
So when human beings, any human beings, wield that much power with no controls around it, that inevitably leads to tears and worse.
And yet Republicans are generally more pro-war than even the Democrats.
People do bad things with that power. They restrict people's speech. They restrict their ability to preach and live according to their religious beliefs.
He's talking about Christians' rights to circumvent the law because they believe in fairy tales.
And to petition the government seeking relief from the very abusive action taken by that very government. They disarm the populace.
Yeah, no, you don't understand the Second Amendment.
They unreasonably search and seize individuals.
Oh, like they do with black people and prisoners overseas?
At their homes, invading their personal privacy.
Like the right to get an abortion.
And seizing their personal effects without a warrant. This has happened in societies over and over and over again. And the one common ingredient? People put faith in the government.
No. Whether the people themselves have faith in the government has little bearing on whether or not a tyrannical power will come into existence. Not all tyrannies are democratically elected.
And don't trust the people. And so, as a society, as a people, as a country, we made a choice with the Bill of Rights. A choice to prevent that kind of tyranny and to protect the freedoms we hold most dear, as only we the people can.
More redundant lecturing of things he's already said before redundantly.
It's worth noting that the protections in the Bill of Rights are listed independently, separately, because each enumerated right is significant and should stand independent on its own, and it should always be honored. But we also can't overlook the fact that each of these protections also can work in concert together to protect liberty. And I believe that there's one freedom in the First Amendment that's central to all the others and is particularly worth highlighting today. It's long been said, as I'm sure you'll hear today, that whether by accident or by divine design.
Yeah, so it's definitely an accident then.
Our first freedoms are found in the First Amendment. Our freedoms of speech, religion, press, assembly, and petition.
Wish the freedom to life or self-ownership would have come first.
And perhaps the one that's least known, least appreciated, least celebrated, but from which all others draw their strength and ultimately depend in one way or another, is our right to assemble.
And yet Republicans constantly fight against unions.
To do what we're doing right here today. Freedom of religion depends on it. Core political speech is downstream from it. The right to petition government is bound to it. And the freedom of the press presupposes it. We can't do any of these things without the freedom to assemble. And it's one of the main freedoms, not coincidentally, that's been severely restricted with the growth of government that's occurred during this global pandemic.
Wait, you think the pandemic itself isn't to blame for making it impossible to safely assemble?
We've been prevented from gathering in our churches, in our schools, and in our workplaces.
No, you can still assemble online and shit. You just can't do so in a way that actively puts other people's lives in danger.
In some cases, even from gathering in protest while seeking redress of our grievances.
Oh, like you guys pretending that the Black Lives Matter march was just a bunch of riots that needed to be crushed.
Whether knowingly or not, those in power have struck at the core piece that has the ability to cause the whole structure to collapse. And we're suffering the consequences. Just look at California. Sad, sad California. The people of California are recalling their governor because they've had enough of these stringent closures.
Wait, no, there's actually a very low chance that that'll actually happen.
They've had enough of the encroachment upon their rights, and enough of the government telling them that they can enjoy a 5-star meal at French Laundry with their governor, but they can't go to church.
Yes, everything is a secret atheist plot to make sure people can't go to their church, even though they can still talk about religion online.
Of course, you can enjoy that meal there, only if you can afford the $10,000 a plate entry price, but that's another issue.
Wait, you want to talk about money? We can talk about which billionaires fund you if you want.
On the flip side, I'm so grateful to my friend Governor Ron DeSantis for keeping Florida open.
Despite the fact that empirically it's shown that lockdowns save lives.
Government, of course, is itself able to assemble pretty darn well. You know, miraculously, in the midst of the pandemic and otherwise in places like Washington and state capitals and city halls, government officials allow themselves to assemble.
Because they're essential workers, head ass.
They don't restrict themselves. This can seem intimidating to us as everyday citizens. Who are we might think, compared to those with massive consolidated power, who, as we might see it, have all the say?
See, he's again vaguely gesturing at imagined hypocrisy, despite himself being a money-backed oligarch.
But the beauty of our country, of our history, and of the design of our system of government, that's the power of ordinary citizens standing together. When one person realizes that he's not alone in his beliefs and finds another. The nation and the world have been changed by groups of clear-minded, purposefully law-abiding Americans assembling together. It's how our country was born.
Wait, the Founding Fathers abided the law? Was it lawful to secede from the British Empire?
And it's how we fought successfully to maintain our liberty thus far. And it's why we're here today. We're here today not because we have faith in government. And there is this choice that is constant and relentless and binary. Tyranny, liberty. We gotta choose which one. Pick a horse and ride it.
Yep, it's that simple. Conservatives are pro-liberty and liberals are pro-tyranny. Never mind the nuance of the different ways tyranny can arise, whether it's tyranny of the king, the military, the corporations, or the people itself. Just remember, Republicans good, Democrats bad.
We're here because we, as a group, choose liberty. We're here because we believe, we understand that government works for us and not the other way around. I believe that if we understand these principles and we continue to talk about them, we can unite around them. We can, we must, and together, assembled, we will. Thank you very much.
Holy fuck, I can't believe anybody could bloviate for so long without saying literally anything.